Hello, good day, and welcome to the stream. Today we are going to work on a number of different issues that have landed on my desk and that I prefer to ensure are not going to be at the top of my mind so that I have more space in my mind to do other things later. So it's actually something from a hygiene perspective that is kind of important, and that is when there are small and trivial issues and they are diverse in their scope, it's actually kind of dangerous to let them hang because they will create open loops, meaning that they are going to be keeping myself busy in my head. And in order to break that, I can either decide to completely push them away or maybe assign them to someone else, or I can decide to do something about them. Especially if it's really short, the payoff in terms of intellectual availability from doing the work immediately is pretty high, so it's worth it. So we're probably going to do that. So there are actually three small issues like this we are going to look at today. They are here on the screen. I'm going to explain them one in turn, but the first one is actually in a library separate from CockroachDB called the Errors library. There's a lot of we can say about this, but this is like actually a process issue. So there is some kind of bug in the release process for the latest release of this library. And I think the only thing we need to do is to reissue a new release number so that this error clears up. So it's going to be short. Then we have here PRs that comes from last week and is approved, but there seems to be a merge conflict. It also fails in CI, so we need to look into this. And then we have a small request from last weekend from a coworker that says, well, there is this new feature that you prototype, and then it seems to have a little bit of a shortcoming, so let's do something better about it. Okay, so I am hoping, not expecting, just hoping that all this combined will not take us too long. And so after that, we can engage with a new project, which is going to be a larger size refactoring. And we are going to start by filing an issue about this. All right. Now, here's the text editor. And we are going to change the prompt at the bottom of the screen to report the fact that we are working on the Errors library issue 82. And let's do this. All right, so we are in these tags. That sounds right. I need to fix this README file because that doesn't need to be there. And we are going to simply commit this. So that doesn't need review because it's a one-line fix on documentation only. All right. Yeah, that seems fine. What does it say? People say. Okay. All right. Let's do the releases. Where are they? Okay. We need to make a new release here. How does this work? There must be a button to create. Oh, draft a new release. Here you go. Choose an existing tag. All right. Okay. So here we are. It took us less than 5 minutes and we have one issue fixed already. It was just a matter of clicking buttons in the GitHub interface. That's the best kind of work. Well, not exactly. We had a little bit of a change in the documentation file, but it's okay. It's a good small project. Next one. Here is a PR that was created last week for the purpose of reducing a serious performance shortcoming in the debug zip subcommand of the CockroachDB executable. There is a feature in CockroachDB debug zips that is retrieving the database schemas, like the SQL schema of the databases and tables. But that work was being done 2 times, so it was already done redundantly, and then one of the 2 times was actually seriously broken by design. So given it was redundant, the PR is just removing the parts that we don't use anymore. Hence the big negative line counts in the resulting diff. Now, that was about ready to go, but then this CI failed. And then since this PR was merged, some other PR was merged too and resulted in conflicting changes. So we have now a merge queue, well, a merge conflict to resolve, And then we're also going to investigate this CI failure to try to resolve it. So let's do this. So first of all, access, then based on top of master, which is going to result in plenty of conflicts. That's okay. Let's see what those conflicts are about. So there are plenty of things here, but all this is in expected output from a test. And because it's expected output, that means that we can go to these tests and rerun them with a rewrite flag, which is going to automatically rewrite them to the expected output. All right. So build this. And then we will need to figure out the right command. Zip test and available zip, which is a skip test. So we're going to rewrite it in a minute. All right, so let's wait for the base CockroachDB binary to build. That will ensure that all the package dependencies are ready to go. Let's on the side evaluate what is being ran. Cool. All right, so now we have a binary that works. We're going to run the test and automatically rewrite their expected output. We have a test here that is apparently looping forever. So this might be, yeah, this one here, that's not great. Partial 2. We need to retry this test. And how does this work? Mm-hmm. I think so. Let's run this. All right, so that worked. Now, what do we see here? One more range. Here's that's okay. All right, here, what do we have? Come on. This. And what do we have here? This one we don't need anymore because these were like transient changes to make progress here. And now we're going to review here. So we see a lot of deletions, then the create statements, create type statements, and then this, then all this. Wait. Oh, retrieving SQL data. Oh, yeah, okay. Okay. And then all this. It looks fine. And then it looks fine. And so we're good. So we can continue the rebase, finish the rebase, and push this. And now we have finished the rebase. Hopefully the CI will pick it up. And then once the CI here will pick it up and reports that it is successful, we will be able to merge the PR and that work will be complete. All right. So here we achieved again, second PR on the way. So we're not going to look at it further. Time to get there 10 minutes further. So we are good. We're good on the way. So now we can go to the third small bug fix. All right, so we have a new CLI /c meta command available in CockroachDB, Cockroach SQL. This is a feature that is inspired from pSQL, which is the Postgres native SQL client shell. And people had been requesting this feature forever, and so it's not implemented. But then Rafi tried it out and then found two different issues. One is related to connecting in what is called insecure mode when TLS is disabled, and the other has to do with the behavior when the user is only requesting changing databases, which was discussed in let's see where it was. Let's see where the other discussion was. This one here. And Rafi was explaining. Wonder about the decision to reuse existing connection if only the DB is being changed. I'm curious for the reasoning behind that. I could see both sides in favors. That's how you use DB works. Maybe you want to merge that behavior. On the other hand, it might be surprising to use a connect command and find that there is in fact no reconnecting happening. One reason I'm raising this question is because I've been working on a per role default session variables, and those defaults are only applied when a new connection is created and not when using set database. Well, Rafi is making a good point, especially because we have used DB. It's kind of strange to have two different ways to do the same thing. So I suppose that as a starting point, we can simplify this to do the same thing in all cases. Let's check out master 0802. All right. Connect. Here, and then we have this. Is going to be removed. And then the first arg is URL can be moved here. And then we can say like this. And then this. All right, so that was, I think, the only thing that was needed to initialize the database properly. And that means that we are going to save this and modify the corresponding unit test. And then it will be the first stage here. So connection using a state statement. Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh yeah, this test in TCL needs to have a source directory that is different from the one I have on my machine. All right. So that is interesting. Okay, so we change this. Yes, I did not change. All right, so there is a little bit of a confusion in this test. So let's review what this test is doing. All right. Check that the client-side command prints the current connection details. So that's what we have here. Okay. Next one. Check that the client-side connect command can change users using a password. So it's this one. And then we see enter password. And then we enter the password. Password is foo. No, his password is ABC. Oh, his password authentication failed that we are expecting first, so that matches. Next one. This one fails, yeah. Next one. Yes, next one, sending connection, does enter passwords, and matches, and then we send the right passwords, and then that connects, and then it's fine. But at this point, we are still on database T, we haven't changed the database. And then we have this, and then we have this. Yep, and now it works. All right, so we fixed our test. And we are going now to check whether this works fine. With a regular server. Connect, I see all this. And I do system and it is asking me for a password. So that's actually kind of broken. We don't want this. We want to have the certificate information if the user is the same as previously. So that's a problem we need to fix. All right, so we have some indication about the switch to URL. And then cure URL. Okay, so how many variants do we have of this? So we have C, switch to URL. Okay. Oops. So what we're missing here is that if the previous URL is the same as the current URL user, get username, I see. So let's do that here. If we are reconnecting to the same server and same is the same user, reuse, let's see, authentication. All right. And then we'll have those things. New. Okay. Prev host. No capitals. Like this. Like this. All right, so if we are using the same server and the same username, we are going to reuse the credentials. How does this work? I'm not sure. We're going to find out. We need to find what is implemented currently. Yeah, we need a new API here to reproduce the authentication parameters that were there already. Okay. And here we probably want something like an invalid option. All right. And then we go back here and we say like this. And then we can try to build this and try it out. All right, let's try again. And it worked. It worked. All right. And that might actually fix the other issue as well. Let's try that. So no, it doesn't fix this. All right, so we can't fix all the issues that in one commit, but we can do this already. So that already fixed the database thing. So let's change this and test. And that goes away. Root. So it's going to be system. Maybe we can change to Postgres actually. Then system. I think we copy pasted the wrong test in the wrong place. All right, let's reverse engineer again. Can change users using a password. That's what we had here. Using new connection URL, connecting to server, enter password, yes, and then wrong password, we get the error message. Okay, next one, yes, and we send connect, and we get here enter password, no, authentication failed. Oh, it's full. Interesting. Oh, that's a bummer. If the authentication fails with the password, we can't reuse the password in the URL. Let's not reuse passwords in any case, because that is kind of a problem. right. If any, and so here only the password. Reasons. Just all right. Password. And so how do you remove the passwords from this? So with password. Mm-hmm. All right. We'll work to add some testing in some point soon. And build this and try it out. Yep. Now all the tests succeed. Let's try it out here. No. This is system foo fault db system root. And that doesn't work anymore, but that's okay, because at this point we don't have the details anymore. Okay, we're good. We're good with this. We are good with this. All right, so we have two different API methods we have created here that will need to be tested. They are missing some unit testing. So let's do this. So the first one has to do with passwords. All right. Okay. Okay, so the clear password thing works. And then cool. All right, so we have finished the unit test for the new API in this package. All right. That goes here. And then we have this one here, and it has this corresponding testing. So this goes here. Like this, and then this one. And then we can explain. This patch addresses two shortcomings. Prior CDB name was previously implemented. would be strange set blocks access. It would be strange for 2 block access. This functionality address this DB name. No, yes, it's the same. If say connection string using TLS client certs, then changing connection would lose Okay. So we have fixed one bug, which was the Rafi thing, and then we have this one about the insecure mode. It's actually pretty much related to what we just saw, and so we are going to address this now. It's in the same area, in fact, and we have here this new option for the TLS transports, and we have a case where we probably want to copy the existing transports from one URL to the next. We'll see. Alright, so what's going on here? Here, alright. If TLS used. I think that is what it is. I think that is going to be sufficient. Cool. Well, that was it. It's pretty straightforward. No concern here. Cool. That fixes it. We need to test it as well. All right. Yep, that worked. Not all of this here, this needs to go away. All right, so we fixed that bug, and we can now send this PR, and hopefully it's going to be fine. All right. So this PR is good to go. And so this goes away. What about this PR here? Let's see if it's still failing in CI somehow. Hopefully not. Yeah, it does fail in CI. In test partial zip and test zip. And the reason why it fails is there specific. So this partial zip will need. Oh, maybe we need to investigate that in a minute. And then what about this one? We're seeing something related to heap profiles. Okay, well, this is what it is. So CI thinks that it wants to generate heap profiles, and it's unclear why, but we're going to work on this in a bit. It's okay. However, we've been at work already for 1 hour, and when we work a lot, we need to take a break every now and then. So it's important now to do that. We are going to take a break for a few minutes. It's important to hydrate, to move the body a little bit, to relax, and then we will reconvene in a few minutes, maybe 10 past the hour. See you in a bit all. We are back on stream. All right, so we were looking at this PR earlier, which is having issues in CI, and then we made some fixes, and then CI is again failing, and apparently the same issue as earlier. And then I looked into it, and the missing change here is that there is some section of this file here that has been removed by our change, and so we need to inject this back into the test expected output. So let's do this. We're going to first inspect what has changed in this expected output for test partial zip. And we see here this big section that is encountering an error. It's been inserted through our test, and what we see is that the output here in the CI is not emitting any message for node 2, any at all. So what is going on here? So we're going to investigate this test a little bit to understand what it is trying to do. All right. So we are stopping the second node and we're zipping it. And then we strip messages from it. And then the second time around, we exclude the node. Oh, I understand what happened. We made a mistake earlier when we were or maybe we were not. Partial one excluded. Then we mark the stopped node as decommissioned and check that zip skips over it automatically. Yeah, so partial 2, we should not have added all these messages here because they don't belong here. All right. It's the kind of change that I made manually to this test to as the data was actually incorrect, and so that resulted in invalid output because this status output should never occur in the test. So it was a mistake in the first iteration of the PR, and we're going to verify that this in fact works. That was like in the initial PR change, I had a brain fart and this was incorrect. All right, let's run this again, and then this one here, it's failing because CI is collecting a heap profile. So CI zip is collecting a zip profile where we were not expecting any. That's strange because at no point in the past we were expecting memory profiles to be collected, and only since we changed this we get memory profile. So what could cause a memory profile to appear in CI here that wasn't there before? Well, I thought about this a little bit, and what's happening is that this code here is replacing the retrieval of the SQL schema by scanning the system descriptor table repeatedly without memory accounting by the retrieval of a table, create statements, that does use memory accounting. And so it's possible that we are tripping up the detection of heap usage increase with the new approach, and tripping therefore the usage, the collection of memory profiles. The number here is giving us a hint. The number here is the memory usage at the moment where the heap profile is taken. Like when this memory usage increased by more than 20% within 10 seconds, this is going to trip up this collection. So this is a problem that had existed forever in the history of this test. And that means that, in fact, like we do in other places already, we need to be excluding the heap profiles from expected output. And this is what we see here. The number of memory profiles collected is not deterministic. And the message here is different. Receiving heap file list. I think we are done with this. We're going to try it out. So what we're doing here is that there is some expected output, and in the original version of this test we were meaning to exclude the heap detection. And the output for the test has changed. So this one is now fixed. And this one, I think we are going to see is going to be fixed. But we will need to try it out. All right, so it's going to be the same as earlier. We're going to wait for CI to tell us what it thinks about the PR before we decide to merge it. So let's queue this build. All right, so again, we will look into this a bit later. Cool. So what we're going to do next now is to file an issue that's going to identify the problems that we want to solve with this refactor. So what is the problem we want to solve with this refactor? So if we look at the CLI package here, we see there's a lot of files here. Maybe it's easier to see in the file listing here. So we have a lot of files about functionalities that is exposed to users, like the node commands, the doctor command, the connect command, and things like this. But we have this bunch of debug commands, and there are actually quite a few debug subcommands. I'm going to show you. There is all this functionality here that is implemented as debug subcommands. So debug subcommands are, in fact, not really part of the product offering. They are present for the benefit of the customers and especially our tech support team. And each of the debug subcommands is being provided by a separate engineering team. And it is provided and maintained by separate engineering teams. And so today, the code for all these commands is in the CLI directory, and it makes it extremely difficult to understand what team is responsible for which code, so that if something needs to be improved, or maybe there is a question about the functionality and so on, there is very little way when looking at this list to know who to ask. And so the goal of the work is to look at the content of this file here, of this directory here, and see bit by bit how to move logic away into separate packages. I'm going to give an example. We have this ballast command in debug.go. All right, create a ballast file. This has some purpose. I personally don't know exactly what it is. What I do know, however, is that the debug ballast code is provided and implemented and supported by the storage team. And so we have a bunch of logic here. That is what it is in terms of implementation, but it's also in the CLI directory for no really good reason. There is nothing in this code here that is specific to the CLI package. So something that we would like to see instead is a migration of the code for this ballast command into a subdirectory of the storage directory here. So pkg storage should have a sub package called CLI debug, and that package should implement the command for ballast and maybe other things. Oh, I have someone at the door. I'll need to be back, and I'll be back in a second. All right, we're back on stream. Sorry for this little interruption. So I was explaining we want the ballast code here to live into a sub package of the storage directory. And if we look at other functions in this file, it's going to be very similar. Run debug keys. Now, the debug keys is also from the storage package. And so we are going bit by bit to chip at this code and move the logic into other packages. Now, what we need to do before we go anywhere is to make a list of all the subcommands. I suppose. Where would that list be? Somewhere at the bottom of this file, perhaps? Yeah, here. This is where it is. So we have here the list of debug commands. We have even debug commands for CockroachDB. Interesting. The CockroachDB code is it's shared together with Pebble. And so for each of these things, we are going to find a new owner, and each of them will have some dependencies. And so what we're going to do before we do anything else with code, we're going to create an inventory of the debug commands, and we're going to find them a home. All right. So we need to have a list of all the debug commands. And so how do we do this? I'm not exactly sure, but I suspect we have a gen command. So like this. It's not exactly what I wanted, was it? I actually don't know how to generate a list without making it manual, but let's do this manually. Also manually means we can be a bit mindful about it. All right. Then we have commands that are added as subcommands. Debug Pebble commands. Where are they? right. There is a sync bench command. Right. It's already in the list above. These are all flags, so we are good here. Cool. So these are all the debug commands that are being supported, and we are going to also annotate them with the cockroach commands that is used to start them. And how do we do this? We're just going to explore. It's actually here. So it's pretty trivial. All right. So we're going to take this. All right. Take this. Compact. Let's make an attempt. Nearly. So that is sync test is here. Sync bench is here. TS dump, gossip values, decode proto, decode value, decode key, check log config, ballast, range descriptors, range data, ref log, keys, GCCMD, yep. Okay, let's make more space. Okay. Env, zip, merge logs. Oops. Okay, env, zip, merge log, list files, reset quorum, pebble, doctor, examine. Yep, okay. So those two here don't match. Oops. Oops. Like this. And then we have the statement bundle thing. Then we have the bundle recreate. Where was that? Statement bundle recreate. Then we have debug job trace. And then encryption status, encryption active key, and backup. So that is in CCL. And it is here. All right, we got them. We got all of them. Show list backups, list incremental. All right, now we're going to format this a little bit as a markdown file. We want to make it a nice table. Access. We don't need to be super careful. We just have to ensure the columns align a little bit, and then the markdown mode will completely do everything else for us. So I want this to be like this. Then I take this. We have this. Then we do this, like this. Then like this. Command angle function like this. I think cannot move column further right. Why is that? Okay, well, whatever. Right. And here we go. And then we're going to have an owner column here. And we're going to fill that here. All right. Decode key, where is this? Decode a hexadecimal encoded key and pretty printed. And this MVC key is just going to be storage. Decode proto. It's not really one specific owner, so we're going to be flexible about this. Sync bench. Performance test for the wall sync, that's the storage. SKV. I don't know what this command is. Ah, yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. Now we can sort like this. And then we have a beautiful markdown table, which we can then copy paste into GitHub. Ta-da! All right. So this is going to be assigned to this team for the time being, because we're going to kickstart the process. But we're not going to do all of it in one sitting, and probably some of this can even be done by other teams at some point. We need to kickstart the process by showing how it's done to other people. And then once this is achieved, it becomes reasonable to ask other people to do their bit as well. Before we go there, we probably need to have a little bit additional additional metadata about how this is meant to work. Yes, okay. They all use the external storage mechanism, which is specific to bulk IO, so we don't really mind too much. The job trace one is another matter entirely. Okay. Oh. Okay. So SQL client demo master. Okay. Oh, no, next line. No here, then this one here. Okay. Doctor has nothing. Oh. How does this work? case. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Then this dump has two subcommands, I think. SRPC in both cases. Okay, so what we like about this is that the storage debug commands don't have any dependencies on the CLI package, so we can probably migrate them without any kind of trouble. Then the others are a mix. So SQL schema things only requires a SQL client, and server things as expected require RPC client, but we can probably remove that need bit by bit, chip at it. All right. Some observations. The storage debug commands are standalone and can be migrated without trouble. The SQL schema debug commands only require a SQL connection. Okay. cool. This is not a bug. This is really a cleanup and enhancement. And that is the clear administration commands. And yeah, all right. So what metadata do we want to preserve? Okay. Okay. All right, so we have identified the work to do. And what else can we do today? Well, maybe we can start to identify the work needed to migrate the CLI connection codes. So we have this get client gRPC connection. And this function here, we may want to move it to a separate package. All right, so we're going to have pre-analysis on how to move the gRPC client code. Okay. TS dump. Okay. It might be even worth lifting the gen init quit and node commands to separate subpackages. This way, the CLI package would not even need to know about the establishing of a gRPC connection. Let's see. Yeah, okay, this logic actually doesn't really depend on the CLI package in any way, so we can easily move it to a subpackage. All right, so let's do the same analysis for, say, SQL connection, which is this one. All right. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So we made an inventory of the commands that are using SQL client connections and RPC client connections. You know, it's vaguely possible that the entirety of the CLI package can be split into sub-packages, because there's not much really remaining in CLI directory. But all the command line flag, parsing, logging setup, and so on, all this will probably remain there. We'll see. Anyway, so that is going to be an investigation for next time. Anyway, so let's leave this issue on the side. We completed the pre-analysis, and we will be able to do a bit more of this. Let's go back to the other PR to see what is failing this time in CI. Oh, it's maybe better. We are not failing in the same locations as before. Our regular expressions did not work properly. So we'll look into it in a bit later. Anyway, so that was today's session. We close off a couple of issues. We had progress on this one. So this one is getting better. It's not completely done yet. It will be done. Then we did an analysis of this problem to specify it more fully so that it can be worked on bit by bit by multiple people in parallel. And hopefully between now and next stream, we will see some incremental improvement in this area. So that was it for today. I do want to disclaim already that next week will be a probable skip in terms of the stream. It's possible that there will be a either 1 week where we don't have a stream, or maybe on a different day, because I will be visiting my mom next week and won't be at the computer on that day. So we'll see. Until then, until we see each other again, I wish everyone a very good week and weekend, and hopefully we will reconnect on this project next time. Have a very good week and a very good day, everyone. Goodbye.